Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Spring Convocation 2022. We acknowledge that we gather today on the traditional territory of Treaty 6 and the homeland of the Métis. We pay our respects to our First Nations and Métis ancestors of this place, and we reaffirm our relationship with one another. Please stand as you are able for the honor song and the arrival of the Chancellor's Platform Party and our graduates. Thank you very much to our drum group, Buffalo Boy Productions, for performing today's honor song. Will you please remain standing as we join our vocalist, Linda Millette, in the singing of O Canada. Please be seated. Once again, graduands, distinguished guests, welcome. My name is Chelsea Wilness. I'm the University Secretary and Chief Governance Officer for the University of Saskatchewan. I have the honor of introducing to you the members of the platform party that you see before you. Beginning with the front row on my left and your right, Russ Eisinger, University Registrar. Patty McDougall, Deputy Provost. Jay Wilson, Vice Provost, Teaching, Learning, and Student Experience. Roland Duquette, Elder. Angela Jaime, Vice Provost, Indigenous Engagement. Irene, Provost and Vice President, Academic. President, Peter Stoichev. Chancellor, Grit McCreath. Catherine Wedge, today's honorary degree recipient. Martin Phillipson, Dean, College of Law. Keith Willoughby, Dean, Edwards School of Business. Debbie Burshton, Dean, College of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies. Cheryl Hamelin, Vice President, University Relations. In the second row are orators, Terry Bedard, Sasha Atkinson, and Ken Howland. Anne Doig, Senator and recipient of an Honorary Doctor of Laws in 2013. Jacqueline Huck, representing the University of Saskatchewan Retirees Association. Abhineet Goswami, President, University of Saskatchewan Students' Union. Shristi Shumananath, Vice President, Student Affairs, Graduate Students Association. Scott McCreath, Executive in Residence, Edwards School of Business. Tim McLeod, Provincial Secretary and MLA for Moose Jaw North. Joy Crawford, Vice Chair, University of Saskatchewan Board of Governors. Noreen Mahoney, Associate Dean Academic, Edwards School of Business. Ronke Ademosu Ayano, Associate Dean Research and Graduate Studies, College of Law. And behind them, and I would ask them to stand, members of the faculty of the University of Saskatchewan. Would you please join me in expressing to all of these faculty, leaders, and members of our governing bodies our thanks for the work they've done by supporting, teaching, and encouraging our graduates.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this really special event. Eminent Chancellor, graduates and families, honored guests, I thank all of you who are here today to be part of this moment in the University of Saskatchewan's history. I welcome everyone who is joining us on live stream as well. And I want to acknowledge, for the benefit of all of the graduates, everybody who's on the platform party, that we are on Treaty 6 territory in the traditional homeland of the Métis. We pay our respects to our First Nations and Métis ancestors of this place, and every day reaffirm and strengthen our relationships with one another. I want to acknowledge in particular Elder Roland Duquette, who was introduced to you in the front row. He is here for every single convocation ceremony that we hold at this university in honor of Indigenous students and non-Indigenous students. And I ask you to acknowledge him when you cross the stage today as well. The Buffalo Boys drum group, who plays the honor song for all of us. And it's really meaningful and really powerful, and I thank them, and I'm so proud that they do that with us and for us. And today, as well, as was introduced to you, Provincial Secretary and MLA Tim McLeod. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us as well. I do acknowledge, too, the faculty who are on the stage, who are the core of this university. They have been leaders and mentors for so many of you who are going to be graduating today. And I want to give a really big shout out to all the supporters of the graduates who are here today, family, friends, high school teachers, because all of you, none of us, achieved something this big without a lot of help along the way. It's so wonderful to be back together again after 2.5 years. I just heard the daily total was something like 1,000 days since we have been together. It's terrific to be back together again, and I thank everybody for joining us. Everyone among our university community, and that's some 30,000 people, contributed to getting us safely through the worst of the pandemic so far. And everyone contributed to ensuring this great university continued its exceptional research and teaching despite the challenges that we all faced. And the solution was that we all faced them together. We're hopefully at the point of return, but we're also at the point of no return, because we have learned much from this pandemic that will change this university in important ways and that will help us help the world be a better place. But I want to thank, in particular, all the students who are here today who have endured the pandemic situation gracefully and so resiliently. It paid off because you're here celebrating a milestone in your lives. Your hard work and perseverance have brought all of us together, and everyone here acknowledges and thanks you for that. We're also here because this university has brought us together. A university is a wonderful thing, crucial to the ongoing conversation that we call democracy. We're so fortunate to be in Canada and to have the freedoms that we have. Given the world that we're in now, where it's difficult to separate out what's true and what's not true, where our future depends on knowledge and the correct use of it, where research holds the key to our greatest challenges, where not only free speech but informed speech are critical to our humanity, universities are needed more than they have ever been. And the University of Saskatchewan is needed more than it has ever been. It's why we say we govern ourselves not only on the basis of what we want to be, but more importantly, what the world needs us to be. And what all of you crossing this stage today, strengthened with a University of Saskatchewan degree, go on to do in your lives will be immensely significant to our collective future. It's a great privilege to have a university education, and with that privilege comes great responsibility. If you don't make the world a better place, who's going to do it? We need you to be thoughtful, educated, and humane leaders, because our world now depends on it. Some of the country's most formative political leaders got their degrees here, not only a prime minister, but 9 Canadian premiers, lieutenant governors of Saskatchewan and of other provinces as well, many Canadian ambassadors to countries all around the world. We need you to become groundbreaking researchers who change how we understand our world. Many who have graduated from here have gone on to do just that, and people who wanted to do that have come here because we provided a great place to do it. One was Gerhard Herzberg, who was offered a position here in 1935 by our first president, Walter Murray, because he needed to escape Nazi Germany, when no other university on this continent was able to offer him a position. And Herzberg went on to win the Nobel Prize in Chemistry just over 50 years ago for the work he did while he was a professor here. We need every one of you to help ensure peace. Protecting democracy prevails, fragile and embattled as it can be. We need all of you together on that one, to fight for the most important freedoms that the invasion of Ukraine proves cannot be taken for granted, and to do this by understanding the difference between truth and its imposters. That's what a university education can do for all of us. We need all of you to help ensure the world does not suffer from another pandemic. Science has done what was asked of it to create vaccines in less than a year. That's the culmination of a lot of sacrifice and hard work, and it's also the culmination of decades of basic research. And our veto researchers have played a big role in that. But there's a role for everyone, not only scientists, to prevent the next one. If the pandemic is revealing anything, it's that humanity's healthy future depends on evidence and data-based scientific truths being widely circulated and understood. High infection and mortality rates are a direct result of widespread misunderstanding, misinformation, skepticism of information, and a politicized rejection of scientific truths. This university has accepted the challenge of combating all of that in so many ways, and we need all of you to continue to accept that challenge as you move beyond the university with your degree in hand. We need you to go on to promote social justice as law school graduates can, helping the country understand how the freedoms we have are extraordinary ones, foundational to our Charter of Rights and Freedoms and deserving of respect. What you go on to influence as leaders will be the difference maker for our collective futures. A law degree is a powerful thing. You hold that in your hands. I'm reminded, with this convocation in particular, of Supreme Court Justice Emmett Hall, who attended law school here, a classmate of John Diefenbaker's. Justice Hall proposed compelling reasons for Aboriginal land title existing in British Columbia under common law, which later influenced Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau to begin land claims negotiations with First Nations. Emmett Hall chaired the 1964 Royal Commission on National Health Care and recommended that Canada adopt Saskatchewan's public health insurance model. He was from here and he understood it. In his report, he wrote that the only thing more expensive than good health care is no health care. Emmett Hall later became chancellor of this university, and Mr. Diefenbaker was before him. Another U of S Law School graduate in Saskatchewan, Lieutenant Governor Tom Malloy, continued their work as chief negotiator for the Government of Canada in the Nunavut Land Claim Agreement and for the Nisga'a Final Agreement. That work dubbed him our most recent Father of Confederation. And our honorary degree recipient this morning, BC Supreme Court Justice Catherine Wedge, knows all about this. Emmett Hall is her grandfather. We will also need the financial expertise that you'll bring as Edwards School of Business graduates. It is inescapable that we will need to blend health measures with business realities to ensure our prosperity. If ever there was a need for your expertise as we move into a new world of pandemic preparedness, it is right now, so that you can help us to lead public opinion, not to follow it. A business degree is a powerful thing, and you hold it in your hands. The University of Saskatchewan degree that you've all worked hard to receive today has tremendous value. Many employers tell me that when they see an application from a University of Saskatchewan graduate, it gets special attention because the quality of the university is so high, because of its graduates' work ethic that's part of our prairie roots, and because you're problem solvers. We need you to solve problems that we can't even imagine today. I said that at a convocation 2.5 years ago when the pandemic was not yet even on the radar. We need you to solve problems that we can't even imagine today. Saskatchewan's future will depend upon it. The world's future will depend upon it. This underscores the critical importance of investing in higher education and the fact that we are a crucial part of this province's success. We're in a province with the natural resources that are second to none in this country, with almost half of Canada's field crop land, 30% of the world's potash supplies at a time when the world needs food, the highest grade uranium in the world when we need clean energy, more than 10% of the world's rare earth minerals, vast tracts of forest, fresh water, huge strength in oil and gas. How to be innovative and sustainable and responsible with these natural resources for the benefit of all of us is perhaps Saskatchewan's greatest challenge. As one of Canada's top-ranked research universities, the University of Saskatchewan ensures this province stays ahead of the innovation curve. Without our kind of research and teaching, there is no innovation. And without innovation, we have a diminished future. So now, more than ever, we all need people with degrees like yours, from a university like yours, to help build a more sustainable world, a more equitable world, a healthier world, a world with the courage to embrace diversity and togetherness simultaneously. And I'm proud that we now have students from over 130 countries attending the University of Saskatchewan, and many of those countries are represented by graduates here today. The world also needs us to be a university that responds to the work of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and I am grateful that the University of Saskatchewan is seen in this country as a participant, not a bystander, in building reconciliation. We're at a time when the country faces the greatest cultural opportunity of its history. Being the university the world needs today means committing to reconciliation. Canada's future depends on our Indigenous youth making this world a better place in ways that only they know how. It will take a strategic mixture of patience and impatience, and it's going to take time. But as our first president, Walter Murray, wrote to a friend in 1908 when he was traveling here to begin his work, we are building for centuries. The University of Saskatchewan is a great experiment in human culture, a place where we learn to be humble servants of a democratic society and at the same time respectful critics of it. None of you know exactly where you're headed, and that's okay. Take the journey, take the risks, find the passion, make a positive difference to a world that really needs you now. It's a great privilege to have a university education, and with that privilege comes great responsibility. If people like you don't make the world a better place, who's going to do it? We know that you will do it, and we thank you in advance on behalf of everyone here for taking up this tremendous and timely challenge, and we congratulate you today on this milestone in your lives. Thank you.
Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Senate, I present to you Justice Catherine Wedge. I have the distinct pleasure this morning to introduce you to one of our family of esteemed alumni members as we present her with an Honorary Doctor of Laws, our university's highest honor. Our college's history dates back 110 years and has a proud tradition of producing some of the country's greatest legal scholars. Our alumni include the likes of a Prime Minister, a Governor General, a university president, 2 premiers, and 3 Supreme Court judges, including, as the President mentioned, the Honourable Emmett Hall, one of our very first graduates, and the grandfather of Justice Catherine Wedge, who we honour here today. After practicing labour law in Vancouver for 20 years, Justice Wedge was named to the British Columbia Supreme Court in 2001 and continues to serve with great distinction to this day. Born and raised in Saskatoon, Justice Wedge went on to attend the University of Saskatchewan, where she earned a Bachelor of Arts Honours degree in English in 1974 and a Bachelor of Laws in 1980. She followed in the formidable footsteps of not only her grandfather, but her parents, who also studied law at the University of Saskatchewan, with Father James going on to practice with distinction in Saskatoon and her mother Marion sitting as a provincial court and then Court of Queen's Bench judge. Justice Wedge has gone on to have her own remarkable career in law, presiding over a number of high-profile and complex civil and criminal law cases over the years, from the ownership dispute over the Vancouver Canucks hockey team to the trial in BC's worst gangland slaying, the Surrey 6 trial. She's continued to give back to the profession, serving as a faculty member for programs offered by the Canadian Institute for the Administration of Justice and the National Justice Institute. She's a frequent speaker, including coming to the College of Law to speak in our McKercher lecture series on the importance of juries. And amazingly, her career in law began while she was competing at the highest level as a Canadian Olympian. While attending the University of Saskatchewan, Justice Wedge was also a member of the Canadian equestrian team and was part of the squad that won gold at the Pan American Games in 1971, placed 6th at the 1976 Montreal Olympics, and won gold in the 1978 World Equestrian Championships. For her achievements, she's been inducted into the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame, Canada's Sports Hall of Fame, and the Canadian Equestrian Sports Hall of Fame. As equestrian, jurist, and lawyer, Eminent Chancellor, I present Justice Catherine Wedge and ask that you confer on her the Doctor of Laws honoris causa.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the legislature of this province, and with the consent of the Senate of this university, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Laws honoris causa and invest you with all the powers, rights, and privileges pertaining thereto.
Madam Chancellor, Mr. President, distinguished faculty and guests, graduates, families, and friends. I'm honored to be here today at your graduation from one of the finest universities that you'll find anywhere. I spent 7 years at this university, 4 as an honors English student and 3 as a law student. I'm astonished to see how the university has grown and blossomed thanks to the inspired vision of your President Stoichev and other distinguished alumni. Today I'll tell you a couple of stories, or maybe more accurately, a couple of lessons that I've learned along my way, but nothing complicated, just a couple of stories. The first one is about finding diamonds in potholes. That's how my great-grandmother, a barmaid from Newfoundland, characterized experiencing failure, finding diamonds in potholes. And if her metaphor were literal, if it were concrete, I would be a rich woman. My life as an athlete and later as a student of the law is littered with potholes, which I fell into with monotonous regularity. Fortunately, my great-grandmother was telling the truth. Potholes are, or can be if you look for them, littered with diamonds. I first fell in love with horses when I was 7 years old in Saskatoon, not exactly the heart of the international equestrian world, but it was the home of Winona Mulcaster, a renowned Canadian artist and world traveler and lover of anything to do with horses. She founded a little club located in the livestock pavilion at the exhibition grounds, which at the time was located near the end of Lorne Avenue, and as far as I know, is still there. The club was known as the Saskatoon Pony Club. It was where my father took me for my first horse show. He knew nothing about horses, but his best friend had a daughter who rode in the pony club, and we went to watch her compete at the annual Saskatoon Trophy Show. After watching the horses and riders for about 5 minutes, my 7-year-old self turned to my father and said, "That's what I'm going to do." Which eventually led to my know-nothing father and his know-nothing best friend buying me a pony they discovered in a farmer's field. The pony's name was Golden Boy, and he was anything but golden. He was a monster. In my first 2 years as a rider, I'm sure I suffered as many concussions as an NHL hockey player, the kind they call the enforcers. I, for some reason, was undeterred. The more that pony ditched me, the more I loved riding. My parents, who had by then a house full of kids, were oblivious to what I was up to. I got on the bus every day after school at Lorne Avenue and 9th to travel to what was then one of the roughest parts of town. And true to parenthood in the 1950s, they had not another thought or worry about me and my pony. In that endless series of potholes created by the monstrous pony were the diamonds that brought me to the attention of Winona Mulcaster. I suspect it was not my promise as a rider that interested her, but rather her desire to ensure that when I eventually graduated from the Pony Club, my brain would still be somewhat intact. As a world traveler, Winona, or Noni as she was called, had visited some of the best riding schools in Europe and observed the renowned European masters training their horses. She resolved to bring some of those masters to the lowly livestock pavilion in Saskatoon to impart their knowledge to her beloved pony clubbers. True to her prairie socialist roots, she provided access to the teachings of these masters pro bono to those of us who contributed to the club by working at fundraisers and mucking out the barn and teaching each new crop of little riders who arrived at the club annually. I soon moved on to an equally unsuitable horse, a harness racer that had come last in every race and didn't know how to canter or gallop because harness horses just don't do that. But he was at least kind-hearted. This horse, called Scotty, was very practiced at losing, and we lost every competition at every horse show we entered in that first year. I didn't seem to notice, funnily enough. My passion for horses remained unabated. And actually, with the event of this retired racehorse in my life, things eventually began to look up. I could at least stay on this horse and thus begin to display somewhat less than the obvious talent to the crowds at the various Saskatchewan summer fairs that held little horse shows alongside the midway rides. The show ring was invariably close to the Ferris wheel, a scary sight for most horses. But my kind old racehorse, having grown up with screaming crowds and every kind of spectacle, was one of the few horses that didn't freak out at the Ferris wheel. So I actually began winning some ribbons. Scotty brought me to the attention of another horse lover, a fellow who had coached hockey players like Gordie Howe and Frank Mahovlich before they were drafted by the Detroit Red Wings. His name was Russ McQuarrie. He owned a coffee company in Saskatoon. He was not by any means a schooled equestrian, but he had a good eye for a horse and a rider, just as he had for hockey players. He recruited me to ride his horses as his second-string rider to his star rider, a few years older than me. I was delighted, second string or not, because he had somehow managed to collect some very nice horses at these little country fairs. So when the European Masters visited the Pony Club, at Noni Mulcaster's behest, I had some talented horses to ride and learned from those masters how to properly ride just about any kind of horse, regardless of temperament, size, or talent. I emerged from the Pony Club with the kind of classical training that would otherwise have been far beyond my reach, monetarily and otherwise, an opportunity not available to most young riders across Canada. But I emerged with another treasure, which is my second story, and that is a passion for the arts, literature, painting, music, drama, which sustained me first as an athlete and then as a lawyer and a judge. I continued riding with Noni, who had a little stable and house on the road that led to Cranberry Flats, the Riverside Golf Course, Beaver Creek, and beyond. It was a lovely, sandy country road which hardly ever saw a car or truck. Noni and I, and whoever else happened to be riding at Noni's that day, would ride out along the road to the flats by the South Saskatchewan River, some of the most spectacular landscape I have ever encountered. Noni would point out to us some of the magic in the landscapes that we couldn't see with our untrained eye. Noni also had an art studio in her house by the stables. She often invited us in to do some painting or pottery. We listened to classical music and browsed through her bookshelves with its array of wonderful literature. When I finished high school and attended the university here, I enrolled in the arts and science faculty. I majored in English literature. I took an array of classes in the arts, which developed my creative imagination and critical thinking more than any class I took thereafter. The arts made me a far better writer as a lawyer and judge than any legal writing course could. The arts have been an integral part of my journey to becoming and competing as an international level athlete. They've pulled me along on that path, helping me deal with the stress, the grind, the dark underbelly that can exist in competitive sport, and the seemingly endless heartbreaks that come with it. They've enhanced and enriched my experience as both a lawyer and a judge. With that intersection of my stories, I fast forward to my years as a member of the Canadian equestrian team, something I never would have achieved without first having trained here in Saskatoon. I couldn't afford the horses that most of my peers had, but I was often given the opportunity to ride the best horses. Horses with international talent are like other athletes. They can be very gifted, but also very difficult. I'd been taught to appreciate and honor their gifts and to manage their difficult sides with patience, gentleness, and even a sense of humor. My first foray into international competition came in 1971, which will be just after the Ice Age for most of you, at the Pan American Games in South America. In equestrian events, teams are comprised of 4 riders. Our team had as its members 2 men and 2 women. Every other team, the Mexicans and all of the South American teams, had only male riders. Almost all were members of the military. Not surprising, I suppose, given that my event, known as the three-day event or combined event, had its beginnings in the military. The heart of the competition is the second day, cross-country jumping. During war times, the military used horses to gallop to the front as the crow flies. That is the most direct route to the conflict, jumping any fences, ditches, water holes they encountered on the way. That is the model for cross-country jumping in modern times. The course is 5 miles long. Riders gallop over approximately 35 jumps. It also involves a 2-mile steeplechase, galloping as fast as one can over very large hedges. My event was known as one of the most dangerous sports after Formula One and skydiving. Now, in Europe and North America in the early 70s, women had begun to compete quite regularly to compete in this event, but not so in South America at the time. When the news spread that 2 Canadian women were riding in the event, people flocked to the competition in numbers unheard of. My female teammate and I were star attractions. The horse I was riding was young and inexperienced, but very talented and brave. She had very little experience jumping down into what were fairly deep water hazards. There was one such on the cross country. She bravely jumped into the water, but was surprised by the resistance of the water and came to a stop instead of loping through the pond. I did a complete somersault over her head and into the water. And one of the pictures that you saw here is me diving into the pond. But back on I got, and we completed the course with no other difficulty. And to our surprise, we won the gold medal. It seems as though those tough military men had come to much more grief than we had. But to my dismay, I appeared in my upside-down tuck position, heading into the water on the front page of a number of Canadian newspapers. To make matters worse, the Ottawa Citizen had 2 photos side by side, one being a photo of the well-known Canadian diver Bev Boys completing a graceful and winning dive into the pool, and me diving much less gracefully into the pond. The caption read, quote, "Believe it or not, both these athletes won gold medals." Hardly the fame I had hoped for. It was a pretty big pothole, but there were treasures to be found in it, gold, if not diamonds. The next few years were quite challenging, one way or another. I was slated to ride at the Munich Olympics in 1972, but broke my ankle quite badly in a riding accident a few weeks before the Games. I was bitterly disappointed. But sporting a large cast, I went to Munich with the team as a support person, assisting the coach and discovering a real love for coaching. And Munich was life-changing. I was staying in the Olympic Village as I was about to get my cast off and undergo some physio. I struck up a friendship with members of the Israeli wrestling team at breakfast one morning, and we began meeting the evenings at the fountain in the main village square. Remarkable young men, all of them. To my absolute delight, we connected in part through literature. We exchanged books and read poetry. The great Irish poet William Butler Yeats was and is one of my great loves. Astonishingly, he was known and loved by some of the wrestling team. We talked about the Irish times of trouble, the bloody conflict between Catholic and Protestant, North and South, during which Yeats practiced his art. And we talked at length about his refusal to use his art for political purposes. We talked about the tragedy of the Middle East conflict and how high the stakes were for both sides of the conflict. I read aloud Yeats's poem titled "Prayer for a Daughter," which resonated in particular with one of the athletes whose spouse had just given birth. It was after one of those evenings that I was in the medical center overlooking the village square that the entire village went into lockdown. There had been a hostage-taking of Israeli athletes by a radical group claiming to be fighting for the Palestinian cause. Many hours later, I learned that the hostages had died in a badly executed rescue attempt by the German police at the Munich airport. Among the dead were some of the wrestling team I had come to know. The Olympic Games carried on, although the debate raged as to whether that should have happened. Like most things in life, there are two sides to the coin. But I will never forget those remarkable young men, nor will I ever forget how powerful literature was in bringing the divide between our nations and our cultures. I experienced another pothole as I was training in Boston for the 1975 Pan Am Games. The team had hired a coach from England whose approach to training I found unnecessarily harsh, and her treatment of the horses I thought bordered on cruelty. I struggled with whether I should leave training camp and forego the Pan Ams. My instincts told me to leave, but I waited too long. In one training session, the coach demanded we jump what I thought was a very unfair obstacle, and my very brave and generous horse at the time, City Fella, did his best to do what was asked of him, but we suffered a catastrophic fall. I broke my arm, my leg, my collarbone, and shredded the ligaments in both knees. I spent a long, hot summer in the university hospital next door, casts on most extremities, with a great deal of time to contemplate the consequences of my failure to follow my instincts and my better judgment, and my failure to protect my great horse. Thankfully, miraculously, he survived the fall with only some bruising. But a truly inspired physiotherapist working at the university hospital promised she would have me back on a horse in 6 months, in time to attend training camp for the 1976 Olympics. Now there was a diamond in a pothole. She was true to her word. We were back in form by January of 1976. City Fella won most of the team trials, and we were on the team in Montreal. The team did well, although not well enough to medal, but the experience was quite remarkable, and I learned a great deal. I was confident we could do better at the Equestrian World Championships in 2 years' time. That's what my instincts told me, and this time I paid attention to them. And they were right. We not only medaled, we won the gold medal at the World Championships, much to the astonishment of the equestrian world, as we were clear underdogs to the British, the American, and the German teams. But life after the Olympics came with a reality check. I had to decide whether to keep chasing the horses. I was becoming weary of being a constant consumer of our wonderful healthcare system. Orthopedic wards are not a great place to spend one's time. My family was weary of getting urgent phone calls about my latest catastrophe, and my brother, John Wedge, who I'm delighted to say is here with me from Toronto, is an orthopedic surgeon extraordinaire who managed many of my surgeries. But after the Olympics, he said to me, you know, there are only so many ways to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. I finally took his advice. I still had my Olympic horse, City Fella, but I knew that he may not have many more international competitions in him. My equestrian runway was growing short. After some long and agonizing debates with myself, I began to think about, of all things, law school. Now, those seeds had been planted much earlier by my grandfather, Emmett Hall, the fellow after whom your beautiful boardroom in the admin building is named, as you've heard. Grandfather had been subtly, or so he thought, trying to steer me in the direction of the law for many years. As a teenager, when I was risking my life riding every crazy horse I could get my hands on, Grandfather drafted me one summer to do some research for him on a case he was dealing with. It was the case of Stephen Truscott, a case with which some of you will be familiar. Truscott, at 16, had been convicted of the murder of a 14-year-old girl. In hindsight, it became obvious his original trial was marred by numerous legal errors. But that is hindsight, and following the trial, his conviction was upheld by both the Ontario Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court of Canada. Initially, this teenage boy was sentenced to the death penalty. He spent nights on death row. That barbaric sentence was subsequently commuted in light of his young age. And then new evidence led to a reference to the Supreme Court of Canada, and grandfather was by then on the court. Having heard the reference, he was convinced that the original trial was fatally flawed. While the court was sitting, he lived in Ottawa. In the summers, he returned to Saskatoon to write judgments and be with the family. Before leaving Ottawa after the reference, he had the customary meeting with his colleagues to discuss the case, exchange their views, and decide who would write the decisions for the court. Grandfather returned to Saskatoon believing he had the majority of the court with him and that he was writing the majority decision overturning Truscott's conviction. He enlisted me to do some research on the case. My job was to read through all of the transcripts of the original trial and highlight certain areas of the evidence. I was fascinated, horrified, and very moved by what had happened at that trial. Doing that work with grandfather was truly a highlight for me and is vivid in my memory. Grandfather returned to Ottawa in the fall, ready to circulate his majority judgment to his colleagues, only to find that in his absence, the tide had turned against his opinion. Every one of his colleagues had decided that Truscott was not entitled to a new trial. Grandfather was no longer writing the judgment for the court. He was writing a lone dissenting judgment. I will not reveal the rather salty language he used to describe the opinion of his colleagues, but as often happened with grandfather's dissenting judgments, they eventually carried the day. His judgment in the Truscott case led finally to the growing belief that he had been wrongfully convicted. Stephen was released from custody. There were renewed efforts by lawyers engaged in what became the Innocence Project to press for a new trial or an outright acquittal. And many years later, the matter went back to the Ontario Court of Appeal, which resoundingly endorsed grandfather's conclusions. While the Ontario Court could not definitively declare Stephen innocent, due to the passage of time, the death of witnesses, and the degrading of the DNA evidence, the court came as close as it could to making clear that he had been wrongfully convicted and likely did not commit the murder. Grandfather truly believed that, given the chance, we're put here on earth to make a difference. And as importantly, if given that chance, we have an obligation not to squander it. That and grandfather's refusal to go with the majority in cases where his instincts and common sense told him not to do so taught me a valuable lesson. Your time here is limited, so don't waste it living other people's lives and opinions. Don't be trapped by dogma. There are times, of course, when it's necessary to listen to others, but there will be times you will need the courage to follow your heart and your intuition. As Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, once said to graduates during a convocation address, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. What that means is you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust something, your gut, destiny, karma, life itself, whatever. One of the many advantages of being my advanced age, and I say many advantages, is that I can now connect the dots. Most of you will have to wait. But to trust that the dots will connect in your future, you also have to find what you love in your life's work and pursue it. That's because your work is going to be a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is good work. And the only way to do such work is to love what you do. So if you discover, after working for a time as a lawyer or an investment banker, that you do not love what you do, keep looking. Don't settle. Don't see it as a failure. It's not. As with all matters of the heart, you will know when you find what it is that you truly love. I'm glad that I followed my intuition and talked my way into law school. That's another story, and I won't go into it here. Suffice to say, I got in. When I graduated, I eventually, after a false start or two, found a law firm of kindred spirits who remain great friends to this day. and I also found the work I loved. During my search for articles, though there were a few little potholes, in one instance, I had applied to a large, prestigious blue-chip firm. I had sent in my law school marks and CV. The firm wrote back saying they were very impressed with all that, and wanted to give me an interview, but before that could happen, could I please send them a photograph? In those days, there was a space in the application form for a photo. I refused in all my applications to comply with that. I thought, if you like everything about me except my appearance, I don't want to work for you. I was so incensed by this request for a photo, before they would even grant me an interview, that I sent a photo of Queen Elizabeth waving to a crowd in her horse-drawn carriage. The law firm was not amused. I got a letter back saying that with that kind of attitude, young lady, I was most unlikely to succeed in the law. I didn't lose any sleep over it. I knew where I was headed, and it certainly wasn't there. In any event, after doing the kind of law I loved, which was labor law, I was appointed to the BC Supreme Court. It has been 22 years since then, and I can tell you it has been a most challenging and rewarding time. Even when I've been overturned by the Court of Appeal, which tended to happen when I tried to move the law in a different direction. Those apparent failures didn't slow me down because, hey, I knew I was right and they were wrong. Now, I'll end with this. One of the most challenging and complicated trials I've taken on as a judge was known in BC as the Surrey Six, named after 6 individuals who were executed in the context of a gang war. It was the bloodiest of gang murders ever experienced in BC. One of the victims was the member of a gang who was encroaching on the drug trade of a rival gang. The other 5 victims were people who just happened to be there. One was a young man waiting at the elevator to go to a pickup basketball game. Another was a 50-year-old gas fitter who happened to be in the apartment fixing the fireplace. And the other 3 were young friends of the targeted victim. All 6 were placed on the floor and shot from close range. The evidence in the trial was primarily circumstantial, so the forensic evidence was very important. The pretrial applications took a full year to complete, and the trial took another year. It was crucial in determining the guilt of the killers to decide whether there were 2 shooters or only 1. I heard weeks of forensic evidence going to that issue and viewed hundreds of photographs of the dead victims, listening to the evidence of pathologists as to precisely how each had died. During the trial, there were many times I had to reach for my favorite books, not Halsbury or the DLRs, none of my legal tomes. I reached for the literature that had sustained me throughout my life as an athlete and a lawyer. I digress here to say that a few decades ago, Lord Denning, the famous law lord, spoke at the UBC Law School. He told the students that whenever he visited the chambers of another lawyer or judge, he always looked first at their bookshelves. He looked not for books about the law, but books of literature, poetry, history, biography, and from that he could discern the erudite nature of the chamber's occupant and his or her ability to do the best things for the law. The Surrey Six trial was the most complex trial I had dealt with, but every criminal trial I've dealt with has had its own sad and unique story at its core. At the end of the Surrey Six trial, I asked myself how to deal with the photographs of the 6 victims who had died so senselessly. That multitude of photographs was exhibited constantly in the trial, as it was so necessary for the search for truth, but so intrusive of the victims' privacy and death. I had a strong sense that it fell to me to restore to them what dignity I could. I decided all I could really do was give them, in a sense, a final burial. So I spent a weekend in my office with those hundreds of photographs, sealing every one by one. As I did that, I listened to the music of the remarkable cellist Jacqueline Dupre, who in her art and her life understood both the beautiful and the tragic. And I pulled from my bookshelf my falling apart volume of Yeats's collected poems and read yet again Prayer for a Daughter, the poem that the Israeli athlete and I had shared in Munich all those years ago. And then what came to me was the famous line from a poem by Mary Oliver where she says, "So tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" And then on a whim, and judges can be whimsical from time to time, I picked a book from my bookshelf at random to see what the universe had in mind. And there in my hand was another well-worn book, a book of poems by Adrienne Rich. I picked a page from the book also at random, and what appeared was a poem called Landscape of the Star. And the last stanza goes like this: "Our gifts shall bring us home, not to beginnings, nor always to the destination named upon our setting forth. Our gifts compel, master our ways, and lead us in the end where we are most ourselves." And that is my wish for all of you here today, that your gifts will bring you home and not always to the destination you imagined when you set out. As far as we know, each of us has one wild and precious life. I urge you to find what you love and pursue it with every ounce of you. Listen to your own inner voice, and at least from time to time, look to the arts to find the inspiration, the courage, the creative imagination that you will require to do great work. Trust that your gifts will lead you in the end where you are most yourselves. So to all of you, congratulations, good luck, good life, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wedge. Eminent Chancellor, President Stoichev, members of the University Senate and Board of Governors, I present to you the petition of the Council of this university that the candidates to be named, having fulfilled all the requirements of the bylaws, may, with your permission, be admitted to the degrees, diplomas, and certificates to which they are entitled.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the legislature of the province, and with the consent of the council of this university, I consent to admit you to the degrees, diplomas, and certificates to which you are entitled, and to invest you with the powers, rights, and privileges pertaining thereto.
Would the graduates in the front row please rise and approach the platform? As you make your way forward, I'll let you know how the conferring of degrees will unfold. As you enter the stage, please stop and face the audience as the hood will be placed over your shoulders. You may remove your mask if you wish. Once you've been hooded, proceed to the first podium where the orator will present each of you by name. Once your name has been announced, please proceed to be greeted by the President and the Chancellor. And this next part is very important. This is how you graduate. Make sure you stop in front of the Chancellor so that she can admit you. The Chancellor admits you to the Convocation of the University of Saskatchewan. For health reasons, unfortunately, there'll be no handshaking today, but you'll continue across the platform to be greeted by the Dean or Associate Dean of your college. And you'll receive your parchment from them. A photo will be taken prior to exiting the stage, and a photographer will also be backstage and will take your photo again before you return to your seat.
Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the faculty of the Edwards School of Business, I present to you these scholars and ask that you will confer on them the Certificate in Business. I present to you Harmanpreet Singh. Eldon Mark Janae. Jonathan Mason Gray. Tara Leah Kucher. Monique Gail Lupe. Paula Victoria Sanchez Otero. Jaden Dawn Thiessen. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the faculty of the Edwards School of Business, I present to you these scholars and ask that you will confer on them the degree of Bachelor of Commerce. I present to you Iyas Abdelhadi, Gabrielle Hannah Abraham, Haley Abry, Liam John Aarons, with great distinction. Jensen Alexander Atru, with distinction. Gina Bay, with great distinction. Danush Kumar Balakrishnan. Gordon Marcus Ballhorn, with great distinction. Dawson Cole Barilla, with distinction. Leah Stephanie Bernard, with great distinction. Haley Barr. Sati Abdul Bassett. Shani Alicia Baer, with great distinction. Sheldon Corey Baer. Carly Ann Beckman. Dustin Charles Beasley. Jamie Bell, with distinction. Amber Renee Belgard, with distinction. Vladislav Bendasuk. Justin Lawrence Burscheid, with distinction. Braden Austin Betke. Jaden Michael Biker. Trenton Blum. Alain Michael Beauchour, with great distinction. Taylor Brackstad. Colin Henry Buban, with great distinction. Lauren Elaine Busby. Madison Ray Butchko with distinction. Orrin Stewart Cairns with distinction. Paula Maurice Cahipo. Braden Karen with distinction. Jessica Margaret June Carrier with distinction. Raylyn Carrier. Cordell Benjamin Carson with distinction. Jazz Emery Clausen with distinction. Anne Lee Clark. Eric Darren Clausen with great distinction. Isabel Claire Cook with distinction. Ryan Cameron Glenn Crawford. Justine Nicole Kusi. Daniel Adrian Dado. Waterbird Shawnice Daniels. Allie Catherine Dagenstein with great distinction. Haley Demetro with great distinction. Finley Michael Easton. Leonard Taylor Eagle. Adam Ermentrout. Mary Engel with distinction. Claudia Grace Erickson with great distinction. Brandon Robert Eshelby with distinction. Megan Diane Evans with great distinction. Yisi Feng with distinction. Tyler James Fox. Grayson Francoeur. Clay Spencer Fry. Alin Kendra Galarno. Dylan Ray Georgette. Jared Frank Germs with distinction. Tanner Cole Gerwing with great distinction. Kirandeep Gill with distinction. Danica Megan Glaske. Jordan Jean Glaceman with great distinction. Spencer Michael Glass. Graham Alexander Gove. Mackenzie Grabowski with distinction. Brent Hafner. Patricia Holler with great distinction. Mia Hansen with great distinction. Samantha Rose Harkness with great distinction. Colton Jonathan Hartel. Mackenzie Laura Hassel with great distinction. Dinah Genevieve Head. Riley James Heck with distinction. Tyler Raymond Heffernan with great distinction. McKenna Rose Heidecker. Tiffany Hannah Heinrichs with distinction. Matthew Alexander Hildebrand with great distinction. Brooklyn Ray Hodson. Mackenzie Shannon Huffnagel. Amanda Hunseth with high honors and great distinction. Céline Hosiane Maria Huberdeau. Caitlin Emily Hutt with great distinction. Maria Silvia Iglesias Arevalo. Mohammed Mutassim Islam. Nudba Ismail, with great distinction. Karina Ivanishchuk, with distinction. Ashadur Jaman. Ariane Kobach, with distinction. Barrett Elise Johnson. Luke Johnson. Holly Mae Jones. Mitchell David Jones, with distinction. Katie Lynn Rose Kapustinski, with distinction. Syed Mohammed Kazmi, with honors. Taylor Ann Keller, with great distinction. Taya Lynn Kerr, with distinction. Miriam Kielstraw, with distinction. Timothy Clausen, with distinction. Brooke Page Clybor, with great distinction. Anastasia Klimenko. Benjamin Marcus Korolak. Brock Thomas Kotlar, with distinction. Evan Eric Oliver Kretzer.
Aubrey Ann Laura La Liberté Piwapisconius. Brianna Jasmine Lay, with great distinction. Allison May Leaguewater, with distinction. Tyson Daniel Lakach Ogrognik. Cole Lindsay. Jonah Litzenberger. Madison Lynn. Emily Lauren McConnell. Martin Bryce McCassie. Ellery Mack, with distinction. Dylan Reed Marion. Regan Martin, with distinction. Jackson J. Miley, with great distinction. Caitlin Rose McDonald, with distinction. Dane McDougall, with distinction. Mitchell McEachran, with great distinction. Ryan Paul Melnick. Jessica Marasti. Keegan Montgrand. Alexander Moore. Alexa Mueller. Jim Carlo Balicanta Narag. Caden Nilsson, with great distinction. Errolson Sebastian Bautista Oladan, with great distinction. Madison Olson, with great distinction. Onala Olua Adedoyin Ola Coyote. Sarah Marie Ormerod. Brady Elmer Otterson. Amber Moen. Bryson Persad. Caitlin Linda Peterson. Ryan Punk. William Kwan, with great distinction. Benjamin Morrow. Gina Bree Myers, with distinction. Jordan Marie Nightingale, with great distinction. Claire Helena Elizabeth Ochitwa, with great distinction. Adam Marcus Pazic, with great distinction. Dylan Pitkawa. Brianna Pochapinski with high honors and great distinction. Erica Polishchuk with great distinction. Dominic John Povey with great distinction. Sarah Marie Pratchler with great distinction. Justin Evan Primo. Kira Pryor. Jasmine Alida Rose Purvis. Yuxuan Rao. Ishita Ra. Cole Reiniger. Anthony John Roscoe. Nicholas Rousel. Kevin Sanchez. Tristan Maverick Sander. Megan Elizabeth Schmidt with great distinction. Ava Gabriel Sellinger. Thomas William John Sherwin with great distinction. Brianne Page Scholda with distinction. Philippa Jane Avant Smith. Riley Smith. Mohammed Shahryar. Basma Shahid. Kishiame Shan. Madison Sharp. Prayag Shrestha. Michelle Nicole Sigurdsson with distinction. Jessica Kayla Sopatic with great distinction. Matthew William Squire with great distinction. Christian Gerard Saint-Onge, with distinction. Emma Stinson. Katie Rhett Stewart, with great distinction. Shay Sutherland. On M. Abbas Saeed, with great distinction. Kirsten Ann Swidick, with great distinction. Courtney Maxine Sunderland, sorry. Khaled Tajik. Anna Jade Tang, with distinction. Riley Shea Thody, with distinction. Christina J. Thomas, with distinction. Mi Tao Chun. Rhett Andrew Tremblay. Taznova Hossein Tropa. Kelsey Ashlyn Tuba. Jeffrey Philip Van Conet, with distinction. Shafa Akbar Virani, with great distinction. Cole Luke Volk, with distinction. Cora Lee Rose Waldner. Taylor Madison Wall, with distinction. Zihan Wang. Lori Waterhen. Owen Weiss, with great distinction. Nicole Jillian Wickenberg, with great distinction. Caleb Jesse Weeb, with great distinction. Leah Williamson. Brooklyn Dawn Willick with high honors and great distinction. Jason Wu. Juinling Xu. Cassidy Yockey with distinction. Cody Young with distinction. Chuck Hai Yewood Yu with great distinction. Trayton Zeri with high honors and great distinction. Ferris Firoz by Zeria with distinction. Jiayu Zheng with distinction. Judin Zhou with high honors and great distinction. Sophia Zhou with distinction. Leon Xiao Dongju with distinction. Tamira Zulfikar. Benjamin Zurakowski. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies, I present to you these scholars from the Edwards School of Business and ask that you will confer on them the degree of Master of Science. I present to you Tahassan Reza Khan, Nsube John Oforgbu, Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the faculty of the College of Law, I present to you these scholars and ask that you will confer on them the degree of Juris Doctor. I present to you Zachary Dalton Anderson,
Miles Allen Applin, Alora Arnold, Emily Kathleen Noel Arthur, Barbara Stephanie Baker. Mark Berlin. Wyatt Jesse Bernier. Carter Todd Bazugli. Kenya Amber Bimji. Jessica Sydney Bahoon, with distinction. Erica Ann Bodie. Jenna Rose Bragg. Sarah Lindsay Bree, with distinction. Calvin Dexter Bricker. Christopher Yukman Chong, with distinction. Daniel Punus Cherian. Parker Albert Chow. Cameron Gordon Christensen. Janelle Clayton. Julia Margaret Conlon. Deanna Council. Katie Rianne Doherty, with distinction. Dustin Jacob Dorshenko. Savannah Lukey Downs, with great distinction. Andrew Scott Earhart. Rory Bijan Erickson. Monica Ann Fitzpatrick. Jackson Shane Flaman. Jillian Fortledge. Daisy Renee Francis. Tyler Conrad Javet. Natalie Marie Gilsby. Corbin William Golding, with great distinction. Braden J. Goldstein. Timothy Hagstrom, with distinction. Jody Robin Hancheroff. Celia Cheslin Louise Heroditz. Amy Catherine Hill. Patrick Alexander Hurd. Danielle Nicole Hopkins, with great distinction. Drew Taylor Eichert, with distinction. Kareem Ismail. Megan Erin Johnson, with distinction. Moira J. Geiser Coops. Kobe Rob Keln, with distinction. Jun Huing Kim, with distinction. Reagan Francis King. Kenzie Bree Cargard. Brandon Steele Coleman. Marcus Lee Kostick. Diane Patricia Koutruliotis. Valerie Ann Qualley. Julianne Haley Labak, with great distinction. Sori Lee, with distinction. Mateo Locante. Sarah Elise Longinati. Isabel Grace Soraya McLean, with distinction. Varda Marva Malik. Joshua Marvich. Camille Marilyn Jean McKay. Jason John McNiven, with distinction. Natalia Montanez, with distinction. Lexi Margaret Morash. Taylor Aaron Moroz. Evan Ross Morrow. Shay Marie Newdorf, with distinction. Taylor Gwendolyn Noble, with distinction. Mackenzie Jada Parks, with distinction. Permeet Singh Randawa. Kaylee Afton Rendick, with distinction. Kira Colleen Phyllis Richardson. Vanessa Lee Roberts, with distinction. Laura Nicole Robson. Sarah Elizabeth Diane Raisler. Kaylee Lynn Schwartz, with distinction. Carolyn Claire Seshadri, with distinction. J.C. Steele. Holly Nicole Stroshine. Sarmad Sayed. Matthew Vincent Thompson. Jacques Ernest Christopher Tupen McGillis, with distinction. Nicole Teresa Marie Trihorn. Tanner Ludvan Titlandsvik. Larry James Varga, with distinction. Taylor May Vaden. Tessa Jean Wall. Allison Patricia White, with distinction. Linda Zheng. Eminent Chancellor, on behalf of the Faculty of Graduate and Postdoctoral Studies, I present to you this scholar from the College of Law and ask that you will confer on her the degree of Master of Laws. I present to you Lauren Charnell Tracci. Please join me in congratulating these graduates on their certificates, diplomas, and degrees.
Eminent Chancellor, in the name of the faculties, I ask you to grant the degrees, diplomas, and certificates In absentia to those students who have met the requirements to graduate but were not able to be present today.
At the request of the faculties, I authorize these degrees, diplomas, and certificates to be granted.
Eminent Chancellor, President Stoichev, distinguished guests, and all Convocation participants, I am pleased to present the Goodspeed Award offered to the most distinguished BCom graduate. The Spring 2022 Convocation Award winner is Megan Evans. Megan is graduating today with great distinction. Originally from Birch Hill, Saskatchewan, Go Marauders, Megan started at the Edwards School of Business in the fall of 2018. After an inspirational Introduction to Financial Accounting class and a prior interest in income tax, she decided to major in accounting. Now, if Hollywood was here today, they would convince us that Ben Affleck is the cool accountant, but they have never met Megan Evans. Her academic average resembles the frequency of an FM radio station, but she contributes so much more to her profession or community than just stellar academic talent, at which she has. Throughout her degree, Megan was involved with the Edwards Business Student Society and the Edwards JDC West team. She represented Edwards at a few case competitions, most recently placing first with her team at the Achieve Case competition at the Toronto Metropolitan University. Although COVID struck in the middle of her Megan's degree, she still continued with her degree and still participated in the co-op program. In fact, her co-op placement was at MNP in Prince Albert, and this position solidified her love for accounting. She will be returning to MNP in the fall. Megan is currently in her first year of the Masters of Professional Accounting MPAC program at Edwards. I might say missing class today, along with other BCom graduates who are in the MPAC program. She is working towards her graduate degree and obtaining her CPA designation. If this isn't enough, Megan is also the external co-chair of the JDC West 2023 Organizing Committee. That's a pinnacle business case competition, and this will be the first time that it's coming to an in-person venue since back in 2020. As one of our very esteemed graduates of the Edwards School of Business, Megan combines academic excellence with meaningful community engagement. President Stoichev, the University of Saskatchewan plan talks about, amongst other priorities, boundless collaboration and building inspired communities. Megan's efforts superbly demonstrate both. Please join with me in congratulating Megan Evans, an absolutely stellar example of academic excellence. Maybe taking the photo, Megan.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Stoichev, honored guests, the Law Society of Saskatchewan Gold Medal is awarded to the student in the College of Law with the highest academic standing in the graduating class. The winner of the 2022 medal is Corbin Golding. Corbin Golding is originally from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. Prior to attending law school, he earned a BA in theology, a master's in historical theology, a master's degree in classics, and was working towards his PhD in classics before making the switch to law school. Grad school in your future, I think, maybe there. Yep. During his third year of law school, Corbin and his wife Justine welcomed their son Roman, who just celebrated his first birthday. I was delighted to have Corbin as one of my, that's a big achievement, well done. I was delighted to have Corbin as one of my managing editors on the Saskatchewan Law Review. He was a genuine, humble, but strong leader, and most importantly, he was by far and away the best dressed man in the room at every single meeting. His sartorial elegance is quite something. For the next year, Corbin will be clerking at the Court of Appeal in Saskatchewan, and following that, he will move to Ottawa to clerk for Justice Andromach Karatz-Katsganis at the Supreme Court of Canada. On behalf of my... The gold medalist is always pretty strong, so there's no question about that. But I'm going to embarrass him by saying that Corbyn's final average was 87%, which means that he got more than an A in every single class in law school. That's 90 credits, that's 30 classes. It's a truly extraordinary academic achievement. On behalf of my colleagues in the College of Law and the Law Society of Saskatchewan, I would like to commend Mr. Corbyn Golding on this well-deserved achievement, and please give him a great round of applause.
So today you receive your degree from the University of Saskatchewan. You have earned it. Every time you look at that parchment, it will serve as a reminder of the countless hours you dedicated to receiving it. It's a culmination of your years of hard work, all of which prepares you for a lifetime of success. Congratulations. With degree in hand, you join our ever-growing alumni family, more than 165,000 USask graduates around the world. The following video shows where a degree from USask can take you.
Congratulations from USask alumni.
Minsa Kodinoy Makanak, Katipanishik Nishanikas, Cody First Nation Donchi. My name is Judy Pelly. I come from Cody First Nation. I'm a Anishinaabe Kwe. I'm a Soto. I am also an alumni of the university. We all stuck together through all this surreal time in our lives. And we can go on. We can go on and see a better tomorrow, be a better tomorrow for us. And with that, again, Chimegwich, hi. Thank you.
You are now part of our growing alumni family. We are proud to welcome you as one of our own. When you started this journey, you didn't know all the challenges you would face. You've proven to yourself and all those in your corner that you are resilient. Congratulations on beginning this next chapter. You now belong to a community of more than 165,000 alumni. The following reflections from some of our many distinguished alumni show the ways in which they continue to carry the University of Saskatchewan with them throughout their lives.
I've seen academia as a fundamental base, but a platform to do other things that I have been interested in and passionate about. And I've been lucky enough that, I've been able to do that.
Upon completing my 2 degrees from the university, I went a different direction. I went into business, and I've been self-employed ever since.
Those interactions helped me. These interactions, these opportunities helped me to create the path where I am right now.
I love being around young people. I love their energy. They're kind of like just starting out, and they've got this whole life ahead of them.
You are always welcome here. Let's create a brighter future together. Today, we celebrate you.
This brings our convocation ceremony to a close. I would like to thank a number of people: our vocalist Linda Millette, our drum group Buffalo Boy Production, our elder Roland Duquette, and the phenomenal members of the convocation planning team for their dedication to making these ceremonies a success. Extra special thanks to Dr. Catherine Wedge. She will always be part of your class, the class of 2022. Finally, now to the graduates. You have studied diligently to earn your degree, diploma, or certificate, and I wish you continued success throughout your lives, both personally and professionally. Congratulations. It is my hope that thanks to your precious experience here, your education has prepared you to meet some important challenges. How to heal an injured child, how to create art that transforms people's perspectives, how to protect human rights, how to engineer shelter for humanity, how to write a poem that explains the feeling of loss or joy, how to deploy capital to produce and market innovation, how to ensure that agriculture production feeds the world, or in summary, how to design and work for a just society. Earning your parchment is a new road to opportunity and adventure. The education you have received from this university has prepared you to meet these challenges. The world needs you. Follow your heart. Be ambitious. This will lead you to your true passion. Never, never forget this institution. Your degree is a coveted passport. May all your dreams come true. And as Dr. Seuss would say, yay, you. In closing, I ask that you remain at your seats until the platform party has left the stage. Enjoy your day, and congratulations again.